So hello everyone, and welcome to the first Malaysian Insider session in 2022. Hope everyone is staying safe and healthy in this new year, despite all the COVID troubles. We would like to thank all of you for making this event a success last year, and we're excited to bring in some talented and amazing Malaysian scientists this year to continue sharing their insights. To those who are new to the Research Insider session, first and foremost, welcome. In brief, this live stream session on MBIOS Facebook page and on Zoom provides a chance for everyone to discover talented Malaysian bioscience researchers and to interact with them. To give a brief agenda on what we would be doing today, there will be approximately 30 to 45 minutes of presentation on the research by the speaker. And then the scientists will discuss their work, their experiences in science, and how they got to where they are now. These conversations will be accessible to all and are directed at non-specialists. The general format is that as I said, the speakers start with an overview of themselves and the topic of the conversation, followed by the Q&A session at the end. So for all the audiences right now, if at any point if you would like to ask a question, please feel free to just pop it in the chat box at any time. And if you're interested in science or learning about topics outside of area of expertise, don't forget to tune in every Saturday of the month, prepared to chat with a scientist and learn something new. Before we start, I'm just going to introduce myself as the host. My name is Jiang Sung Tian, and I'm currently an MSc Immunology student at Imperial College London. This science chat is organized by MBIOS and media partnered by 100 Scientists of Malaysia. And let's give a very warm welcome to Dr. Prakash Manickam Kumarasamy, who is a doctor and medical lecturer at Newcastle University, Malaysia. Dr. Prakash, the stage is yours. Please introduce yourself and your research.
Hello, a very good morning and good evening to everyone back in Malaysia, and a good afternoon for those in UK. It was a privilege for me to be given a chance to present this talk. Thank you to MBIOS Malaysian Bioscience Scholars, Wan Yi, Zhang Zuntian, the Researcher Insight, as well as the Science Media Center. Before I forget, I would like to wish good luck and all the very best for my ex-students, final year MBBS AIM students who are taking their professional exams today. And also not to forget my PPV Sunway friends who are here supporting me, my family and friends. Today I'll be talking about investigation to improve cleaning procedures on post-mortem table from cross-contaminations. And before we start, I would like to start with a poll, and don't mistaken me, it's just like an ice break. And host, can you please, all right, this will be the poll and you can able to answer it. It won't be a no or yes. Okay, so I think we have our results here. Most of you had given the answer for court cases. Interesting. And also CSI dramas and books, but none of you says about lecturers, influencers and others. That is good. I mean, kind of expected answers. And I'll stop share the results here. Thank you for your poll. And basically, before we start with my research, let's go about my journey in educations and also my my research. Basically, my journey to be who I am now started since my secondary school. At that moment, I'm not aware about forensic at all. Only wish to be a doctor. So after completing my SPM and STPM, I enrolled in AIMS, where I was the second batch, and we are the pioneer batch back in 2001. So back then we only had shop lots to study. We don't have a proper university just like now. So we had chances to use the shop lots as our university. And so as you all know, life in medicine, basically, we only study. we have exams, revisions, practicals, and hospital attachments. So during that period of time, during one of the forensic lectures, we had a guest lecturer. He's known as Dr. Bhupinder Singh, who is a renowned pathologist. I think some of you know who is he. And after his class, I was so mesmerized with forensic, and it was my maybe a passion or a destiny to be choosing forensic as my field one day. So after completing my MBBS in AIMS, I was attached in government in Sabah, in Queen Elizabeth Hospital. So during that time, I was doing my medical training and everything, and I have a chance to be in forensic department for some times. And there's two things. There is two things which makes my decision to be a forensic. So first is a dead body never lies. This phase will be the last for everyone. So basically, when you die, that will be your last phase. So at that times, for those who are dead, everyone must given a justice. So I can get to know that during this time, it is very important that the dead one to be given a justice. So those bodies which is unclaimed, decomposed beyond recognition to identified, and to ascertain that the cause of the death is not known. So it is our duty to give what are the cause of death, to at least to make sure that the person who has died have get their justice. Secondly, I wish to break the skeptical ways of ones where you studies or something you like and work for. But for me, I wish to gain knowledge and experiences, as knowledge is like an ocean. It is vast. It is basically never ending, or there's no beginning. So being in forensic, I have chance to get exposed in different fields, such as in PDRM, the fire department, the laboratory settings, as well as the law. So, and also I had good friends and also good lecturers. As like in PDRM, I know about the procedures of CSI, the crime scene investigation. For court, we had some procedures as well. And we have the best criminologist in Malaysia, Dr. Jeshina Ayu. You may be able to Google who is she. She's one of the most prominent figure as well. And we had a good lecture and good exposure to Malaysian law. And also being a scientist in lab, not to say a full scientist, but an exposure, like to how to test chemicals, to test and extract DNAs, the methods to get fingerprints. And this is essential for to get decomposed bodies fingerprints. So after that, this is why I want to be in forensic. And after completed my master in forensic with Dean's List, I worked in AIMS as a lecturer and also a final year coordinator. And after that, I currently attached to Newcastle University and ongoing my fellowship. And this will be my photo that I'm receiving my master in USM just recently. And for information, as a doctor or as a medical student, there is a special events in my life as well. So as medical students, sometimes some of you will get to know that there is no life, only studies, or only exams. But for me, I'm also an athlete. So I am able to make myself free for sports and education. So in sports, the first and the foremost special event would be I had to receive an appraisal from my dean. Her name is Professor Dr. Indranath. She is the MD FRCS Padma Shri and recipient of Chevalier and also National Order of Merit. And you can able to Google about her. And she is one of the renowned immunologists. And they had given me appraisal, which because of being a first student of the institute to bring a medal for the university in athletic for 10-kilometer run. And also I had participated in second Penang International 12 hours walk, bagging a special achievement award covering distance of 36.652 kilometers. And there's a lot more, but I don't want to drag about it. And for education wise, I was also been invited as the keynote speaker for Global Scientific Gulf on forensic for the third global webinar on forensic science and conferred certificate of recognitions. And also I have completed my advanced forensic certification under Thermo Fisher Scientific. So basically my research, as you all can able to see here, as what I can say is during for your life, for your info, during my life as a doctor is not a single day I was being exposed to research. Basically, it is only pen and papers and practicals. So when I was in USM, I had to do my research. So it was first time it was scared because I don't know anything about research. But with the best lecturers and also my best advisors and also my supervisors, they gave me step by step how to do my research from the point of writing the title, from getting the references, from the fonts, and etc. etc. because that will be a new part of an exposure. But at last I succeeded because of the person that is guiding me is well versed, and I would like to take this time to thank Dr. Wan, Dr. Fahmi, and also Dr. Chang for helping out to complete my research. And basically, let us see here, before I go through my DNA contaminations, I have one particular thing to choose as my topic. So I was quite reluctant and also not sure what kind of topics to do my research. And good enough, during one of the lectures, there was one of my lecturers, her name is Dr. So. We had class and we had a discussion, and it was high profile case, which I can't able to tell because due to the medical legal wise. And that particular case got my attention. So in that particular case, what I can able to summarize it, that particular case, the patient, the body was being brought into the hospital, and it is high profile because that particular person is in the government sectors. And once the post-mortem was done, and then there was a court trials. So during the court trial, there was one particular time, the defense lawyer had raised a questions of having a third DNA, which is unknown. So due to that particular problems, the trial was been adjourned or postponed or been lengthened for another 6 to 9 months, and they need to redo back the investigations. So what they have done was, prior to that particular body, there was another 2 more bodies which was had their postmortem. So the investigators have to go to the next kin of the bodies families and take their DNAs, the blood and everything, to ascertain that that is not their DNAs. So we can able to see from this part of point, if there is any contaminations, the evidence is been tampered, the evidence can't able to be used in the court. So it's very important that there shouldn't be any contaminations, and morgue or the autopsy table or the autopsy part is the last stage to have a contaminations. So here I would like to do DNA contaminations because it is related to the case. And before that, I would like to also say, I would like to share my lab research pictures. So you can able to see all these pictures here. And here we can able to see this is Mr. Inspector Sharazi. He's also from BDRM. And we all are in one groups. And here you can able to see the test, the chemical test that we are going to do, and all the precautions that we are taking because of corrosive solution are being used. And certain times these are my group mates. Okay. And for informations in forensic also, PDRM was been given 5 seats for them to come and do their specializations, because in PDRM also they have their specific departments, like in CSI department, they'll have some in crime investigations, or in police, or in traffic. So they need forensics exposures. So they have been sponsored by the PDRM to do their forensic as well. And this will be the investigations to determine the cleanliness of the autopsy table. So how clean it is from the cross-contamination. So we can able to see a few things here. And in my research, due to COVID pandemic, the morgue is not accessible as much as it should. So part of the research is need to be done in lab. So to recreate the autopsy scenario. So basically you can able to see, by the way, this will be a new one, because I guess none of the researchers had done an autopsy out of the morgue or in the lab. So what I have done was to recreate the autopsy scenario. Before that, before we get into the serious part, let us see some of the source of the contaminations we encountered each day in autopsy. So there can be biological, chemical, air, and etc. etc. For biological contaminations, during the autopsy, the biological contamination are the major disaster accounted by the forensic personnel. Microbes plays a vital part, as it cannot be visualized by the naked eye. So there are several high risks of hazard that the health workers in the autopsy room can be exposed, including pulmonary tuberculosis, HIV, and also as well as the hepatitis B, which can appear in the form of the microbes during a post-mortem procedures. For the laboratory, but for the forensic laboratory analysis, these samples are taken by swabs from post-mortem table and draining board, irregular instruments, and cultured on the nutrient agar, blood agar, which will be noted to be heavily contaminated. So the samples are being tested for an autopsy procedures and noted to have lesser contamination compared during an autopsy procedures. So the usage of gloves and apron also accounted for heavy contamination of bacteria. So if these materials are not being disposed properly, they will become one of the major causative infections for involved personnel due to increase of contamination level during the post-mortem procedures. Apart from the microbes, DNA can be transferred from previous dead body or foreign source to the current bodies when cleaning of the table after the post-mortem procedures are not being conducted correctly. So it is a forensic challenge when these types of contamination can be questions when exogenous DNA are being found. There are studies was conducted where DNA samples were swabbed using in vitro spin swab kit and also phenylchloroform DNA extraction methods from tooth forceps and also post-mortem tables. And also, beside the transmission of the bacteria such as the TB and anthrax, which can be deadly for the medical personnel who are involved with the autopsy procedures. In terms of the TB infections, the usage of surgical mask provides the can prove to have insufficient protections to the personnel. So for those involved with the TB patients are requested to wear the N95 respiratory or a high efficacy particulate air HEPA mask. So because this is an infectious diseases. And for chemical contaminations, it can be also encountered in most of the cases during the post-mortem procedures. So here we can able to see the usage of the formaldehyde, formalin, during the handling of formalin mixed organs or specimens which are not washed properly, will give rise to irritants or mucous membranes such as the skin's eyes, and in long term, it also can cause cancers. So basically, it can also give rise to acute irritations and chronic, which will be resulting to have diseases such as laryngitis and bronchitis. And also, when we are discussing about this, the contaminated dead bodies due to the ingestion of chemicals by the dead through a self-poisoning or an industrial accident. These are the main components of chemical contaminations, where there will be a mixture of inhalation and ingestion of toxic compound, mainly domestic cleaners like bleach. So the other potent chemicals contaminations are from the cyanide poisoning, where it can be also inhaled, ingested as well through the intake scheme. So personnel who are performing an autopsy on chemical contaminated bodies, or in such person who has ingested cyanide, the exposed is high risk. So a blood cyanide concentration could be elevated from 38.4 millimole, where the normal level is 7.6 millimole. And for the air contamination, it can be also must be taken not lightly, because as a post-mortem procedures always involve personnel in the healthcare system who had followed the standard operation procedures by wearing proper personal protective equipment such as PPE and using the sterilized equipments, but they are still exposed to the air contamination. And when the air samples are being tested using Biomedic's air idle biocollector, the investigating 250 liters of air samples twice a day showed that one of the culture dish contained a non-selective bacterial growth such as trypticase, and another sample which detected the sulfite reducing anaerobes. So basically, the contaminations can able to give more problems during the autopsy procedures. Okay. All right. So in my research here, there are a few objectives, because whatever research that we are doing, we must have objectives and we must stick to our objectives. So the first objective will be to compare the effectiveness of the cleaning procedures between usage of different detergent and using a normal wash only. To determine the cleanliness of simulated autopsy settings with different time elapsed upon cleaning procedures. And the last would be to suggest ways to improve the current cleaning procedures which practice in the Ministry of Health of Malaysia. So there are a few methods used in testing the presence of contaminations. So they can be divided into two. One is a presumptive test, and two will be the confirmatory test. Basically, for the presumptive test, it is such as the Phenolphthalein Test, aka Castle-Meyer test. This Castle-Meyer test is used for decades. It was been found in 1903 and as a rapid presumptive test for a blood. This test identified the heme component of hemoglobin, which the presence of hydrogen peroxide catalyzes the oxidation of the indicator phenolphthalein and turn it to the pink. But there is a few disadvantages. That's why I didn't use this Kastle-Meyer test in my research because it's only a presumptive test. The disadvantages of Kastle-Meyer test is it can give you a false positive results occurs, such as when it is being used with the powerful oxidizing agents such as the copper and also the iron salts, which can able to turn the Kastle-Meyer's solution to be pink before the addition of the hydrogen peroxide. And one more thing is it also expensive. And second one is the luminol test. I think most of you have seen this luminol test, even though you are not a forensic, or you are not a doctor, or you are not in based in a forensic lab. So this is a luminol test. So basically, luminol test is a common method for preliminary identification of blood. The working solution may be sprayed onto the surface to test the presence of the blood. There will be a positive results of luminol can be seen as the emission of the blood of the blue light, which is called as chemiluminescence, can be seen. So basically, this whenever the luminol touches the blood, it glows, and it is bright enough to be photographed. So basically, in this particular photos here, you can able to see there can be the deceased is sitting on the chair and was being dragged. So you can able to see the path of the dragged through the luminol test. But there's an disadvantages of using this test. It can also show other substance to glow, such as the household bleach. And sometimes the uses of luminol solutions can be also damages the other surroundings evidences, such as the proteins, enzymes, the genetic markers. Through it has been shown that there can be DNA samples can be still be obtained from the evidence on which the luminol was being sprayed. But as it was water-based, it can also cause dilutions and also smearing of blood impressions. So that's why certain extents for this luminol test, this is the very reasons why the investigators only use the luminol after exploring all the other options. But it's not as quite as prevalent as in crime scene investigation, which is presented in the TV shows or dramas, where you can able to see each of the dramas, they will be using this light to ascertain the any evidences. So the police don't walk into a crime scene and start spraying luminol on every visible surface. Okay? And there's a confirmatory test, which is known as Takayama Test. Okay, Takayama Test, it has been invented in 1912 by Takayama, so for blood detections. And it has been used for confirmation of blood. But there's a catch here is it is not been used for species origin. Species means that we can't able to ascertain what species is the blood is from. So we can only be able to make sure that the Takayama test is able to detect the blood. All right. And based on this research, the result of this test can be also used to identify blood spots on the clothing, which is aged 20 years ago. Means that it is so good, you can able to get positive results of anything to do with blood stain, which is 20 years back. And it also gives the formation of pink crystals, or known as the hemochromogen crystals. But here we can able to see the disadvantages. Okay, the disadvantages of Takayama test is it will be giving a false negative. If the reagent is very old, or the stains is contaminated with reagents. And also the stains are very old or decomposed. Okay. So we'll be seeing about the Tishman test. This is the test that I used for my research. Okay. And about this Tishman test, I will be explaining a bit later, but we'll be going through a few more things. Here will be human hemoglobin immunochromatographic test, which is also quite relevant, but it's also a bit hard to say because it can be possibility to identify the human blood by human hemoglobin immunochromatography test. This test was been done by inserting a sample of 1 ml of Christ EDTA with pH of 7.5. The sample then was soaked into 150 ml of buffer solutions and tested with hexagon OBTI strips, where there will be an indication of 2 blue lines and one at the control positive and one is test positive. Shows that the samples is human blood. It's a bit complicated. So that's why this is not really been used. But this is the one. Okay. And also the another test is the Raman Spectroscopy. Basically, this Raman Spectroscopy can differentiate the species of blood from human and animals. The animal blood from the cow, the cat, the dog, the horse, the pig, mouse, opossum, raccoon, rabbit, even the chicken, we can able to differentiate from the human blood. And this test using a chemometric PLSDA model based on the Raman spectral data. So basically here, we will be seeing the classification between the ratio between Raman peaks. And this Raman spectroscopy is extremely expensive to be done routinely in usually in where there is a crime scene. It's not been done routinely. All right. Before that, I would like you to see this video for 2 minutes. This is the Tishman test, okay, that was been done in this research and how the Tishman test is been done. So basically you have seen what is the Tishman test. So basically this Tishman test is the oldest method and it's still been preferred due to its simplicities. And also it is known that the hemming in the blood, which has been in a prosthetic group of hemoglobin, can be visualized in the crystal form when the blood is being heated up while mixing up with the concentrated acetic acid, which will be then visualized by the microscope. And rhomboidal structures of crystals can prove the presence of blood. And here we can able to also ascertain the origins of the species, such as the rat and etc. etc. So this is able to do two things in one time and is simple. And in my research, the methodology of my research is first and foremost, whatever things or whatever research that we are doing, which will be consist of DNAs or human or lives, such as using animals or etc. We need to get an ethical approval. So to get an ethical approval, we need to do submissions to the ethical committee in our universities, whichever universities that you're doing your research. For that ethical approval, there will be an ethical committee where they will be asking questions and what are the need of we are doing and the need of things that we need for our research, such as blood or etc. etc. And this is the letter of approval that I have received after I have done my ethical approval presentations. So it's a bit small, you can't able to visualize, but it will be such a way, such a letter will be given, and this letter must be attached with your research thesis at the back of it, because to give an proof that you have going through appropriately in a correct order. Okay, and for my research, I have used blood. So basically, when I'm using a blood, I must able to give a proof says that from where I'm getting the blood, how much, and how is the medical legals how to say medical legal things I can able to encounter. So basically, when I get this blood, I have gotten a human blood, because I don't want to use animal blood, because we are trying to do an autopsy of a body. Dead body means a human, not a rat or dogs or anything. So basically, I got discarded blood from blood bank. So which are the discarded bloods, which will be not be useful. I have acquired it from my university's hospital, and after that, that particular blood, I will be applying to the stainless steel table and let it dry for a period of time and wash it with a washing material which will be tested. So these are the blood spots where the all the bloods will be done, and there will be negative control and also the positive control. So basically, we have to have this negative control, because to have a yardstick, okay, negative control and positive control, to have a yardstick of our research test results. So basically, the negative control, there's no blood, and in positive control, there is blood drops, and all these blood drops will be left to dry and will be from A to B. All these things will be labeled accordingly, A, B, C, D, E. So to make sure all the bloods are being covered up each of the part of the table. So once it's already been covered up, after a particular time, which I will be discussing later, I will wash it with the specific washing materials, and I will be using a clean cotton bud to try to wipe it, and I would like to see whether there is any part of the cotton bud is having any blood. So this will be the blood stains. So whenever I have wiped out each of the cotton bud, I will be tested with the Tishman test. So the Tishman test, as what we have seen just now, the sample will be put in the microscope slide here, and the cover slip, And then it will be applying the Tishman reagent and also the heated up above the candle and will be visualized in the microscope. So basically, in this part where I will be doing it, it is very essential that each of the part I will be doing a few samples, because due to the time constraint during that time, due to COVID, I have limited my test about each of the detergents was around 20. So for here, I only giving you a sample of 5. So here I will be doing my water wash only. So in water wash, okay, this will be the sample here. Water wash 1, 2, 3, 4. These are the parts where we are doing continuously. We'll be doing sample 1, sample 2, sample 3, and sample 4. And after 3 hours elapsed, 12 and 24 hours, we will be tested the cotton bud. So why I use 3 hours, 12 hours, and 24 hours is because usually when a post-mortem is been done, the normal hours that we will encounter to finish up is 3 hours. If there is a complicated case, it will be up to 6 to 9 hours. So to play safe, I try to finish, try to test 3 hours, 12 hours, and 24 hours. So from this particular result here, we can able to conclude that only by using water wash in the table, which has been spread with the blood, all are positive. Means that is we can able to visualize all these blood. This is the rhombic prismatic crystals. These are the visualizations under the microscope. So when I use the powder detergent, we can able to see here in the second powder detergent wash and third, in 3 hours, there is a negative. Means that there is no blood traces, but it is not sufficient enough. So when I was visualizing it, you can able to see it is much more better compared to the water wash only. Okay. And I use the liquid detergent wash. The result is such a way where I only can able to get only one specimen here, one water wash, one liquid detergent wash to be negative. So in the microscope, I can able to have these visualizations. Means that even though we are using liquid detergent wash, the table is not clean enough. So when I use powder detergent with the household bleach washing, it is a good results where I can get all negative. Means that there is a 0 contaminations. Okay. And when I was using this household bleach, I also encountered that when we are using the household bleach, it also can able to destroy the DNA itself. Means that whenever there is a chances of DNA contaminations, when using this household bleach, you can able to clean or can destroy the DNA itself. So you will get a 0 contaminations. So basically in my research here, I have concluded that the cleaning method that involved the combinations of powder detergent with bleach was shown the most effective method to remove the biological contaminants, namely the blood residues. As to compare to other methods, this combination of detergent is successfully achieved the 100% free from contamination due to presence of blood traces. In other words, 0 contamination have been achieved. So due to this, I have also had a few recommendations for future research where as such increases, there can be also possibilities of cleaning devices such as using jet sprays and also usage of different methods of cleaning, because as the time evolves, we are encountering different kind of methods. We are trying to get a few new methods. And also, I also recommended this research to the Ministry of Health to be included. So to make sure that the evidences in future it's not been tampered due to the contaminations. Because if there is any tamperment in the evidences, the court will be, the court won't take that particular evidence as evidence. So it will be void. So they can be suspect in the loose. So that's all for my research, and thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Dr. Prakash. It has been incredibly interesting to hear about your journey and just the research and your data. So let's get into some of the questions that we might have. So previously, you said that you received the Dean's List when you were studying.
Yeah.
And it is an incredible achievement for you, I'm sure. And it is a very prestigious award that's only given to the elite of the class. What would you say? Do you have any advice to anyone who's trying to achieve that same level of achievement as you?
Okay, basically, I don't really expect it to get the Dean's List, but only thing is consistency. And if it's possible, we have to try to ask questions, because at times now as a lecturer, I can able to, when I'm doing a lectures, I can able to see whether the students can able to understand that particular lectures or not. But sometimes they say yes, yes, yes. But at the same time, the next day when we ask, they forgotten. So the only thing is re-enhancements, and also they need to ask questions. Whichever things that you don't know, try to, because for your era, not like our era, past 20 years back, we don't have Google or YouTube's or anything to do with touch screens or anything. We need to be in journals, we need to take books and everything. But now, in your current situation, this era, is everything is accessible. So from the part, even now we are trying to use anatomy in using iPads, in 3Ds and 4Ds animation. So it's our way, we need to take initiative to learn or ask questions. And if you don't know anything, the lecturers are there to help.
Yeah, that's a very good advice, because once again, it's just all about, your will to learn, right?
Yes.
If you don't have the will to achieve the best, to get to the best, the only one who's stopping you is actually just you.
Yeah, basically we can bring the horse to the lake, but it can't able to force the horse to drink if it
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So another question is, you have mentioned that water wash is one of your variables in the research. What is the purpose of this, I guess, this factor? Is it because it's the most commonly practiced cleaning methods in autopsy?
No, because in autopsy, currently they are also using detergents plus with water wash. But I would like to know whether only the water wash, because I would like to compare a few different specs or aspects which can able to have different kind of data.
So would you say the water wash is sort of like the negative control, in which you are kind of sure that there might not be any changes to the blood stains detected?
Actually, when we are using only the water wash, I can able to be 100% sure that not all the stains have been removed, the blood stains, because even in 3 hours times, there are still blood stains visible. So it is better to use detergent with the water wash.
So another question is there a standard operating procedure cleaning? So standard operating cleaning procedure by the ministry that is like dedicated to cleaning the autopsy table?
Yeah, there is an SOPs. There's SOP. So currently the Minister of Health quite serious about it, and they are all hospitals are following the correct SOPs. Only thing is now my research is to enhance the cross-contaminations from occur, because how good your SOP is, also there is a chance of improvements.
Mm-hmm. And what would you say is the gold standard when it comes to the SOP?
Basically, for SOPs wise, there's a few things we need to take into consideration. First and foremost, the personals that working, the doctors, the medical assistants, etc., especially the gloves that they are using. They must make sure they can able to have a proper way to dispose it, and also to sterilize back all the equipments.
Interesting. So, and going back to the presentation, you talk about the presumptive test and a confirmatory test. What are the differences between them, and what are they sort of used in? Which context were they used?
Okay, that's a very interesting question. Actually, presumptive test is a test where you just presume, means that it is not confirmed that that particular thing is blood. Means that it only can be presumed that will be blood, and it must be double checked, or it is an initial stage. The presumptive test is an initial stage of saying that that particular area or that particular crime scene is been contaminated with blood. So to make sure the confirmation, there is a confirmatory test. That's two different things. One is to make sure we can able to cut the time, because each time from the time of the incidents or the crime happens, it is very essential and very important for the IO, the investigating officer, to start their investigation, because each time the suspect can be induced. So to make sure that at least we can have some things to do an investigation first.
Okay. And also coming back to the test, you mentioned that the Tishman test can differentiate between different species, let it be human, dogs, cats, and whatever. And in a video, it says that it does that by creating differently shaped crystal, in which you would then observe and differentiate between the different species. How does that occur, or how does the chemical reaction made it so that they are differently shaped crystal for every species?
Okay, basically each of our blood have the antibodies. So basically for animals also, they have their own antibodies. We can't able to take our blood and infuse to animals and vice versa. So each of them, they have their own components. That's why for veterinarian part, I'm not so aware about it, but as much as I know, they have their own blood for each of the animals. So each of them, they have their own antibodies. Even our own body also, we have like blood typings, blood groups, A, B, O, A, B, and there's like Bombay groups that you are not aware of. There's a golden groups that means that there's no research, where currently, if I'm not mistaken, in Malaysia, initially there was a patient in Terengganu was being found to have golden group, means that that particular patient only can able to donate to a patient who is having a golden group. So it is very rare. So it is such. So different people, different animals have their different antibodies.
And here we have a comment from someone in the Zoom call. She said, "Hi, Dr. Prakash, amazing sharing from you. Thank you so much." And she has a question, which is, other than blood, is there any contaminant that can be included in the study to answer your research question?
Okay, basically, I can able to include DNAs because I am doing a blood. Because DNAs are quite fragile, so there can be a few other extra steps that we need to make sure when we're extracting the DNAs. And also sometimes the chemical contaminations. So usually the chemical contamination is what I have told just now when I was explaining about the chemical contaminations. At times during that particular times, I need to be a certain, I need to make sure I am taking all the correct precautions, because the chemical is corrosive, or at times it can able to be dangerous. So I can able to do also chemical contaminations. But the air contaminations is less likely because it needs to be in particular part where it is been fully closed, because we can't able to take air contamination from outside.
So I have a question that is it might be a little bit far-fetched, but let's see if you can answer this, because much like how advances in forensics has really helped us solve cases with the development of these like all these tests that we can do, that knowledge can also be used by criminals to counter it. What do you think the future of forensic will be in order to counter this, the fact that, criminals are also humans, and therefore they also learn from past experiences and know that if you do this, they will be able to cover their tracks. Are there any development that might prevent all of this?
Yeah, actually, that's a very interesting and a very good questions indeed. Basically, nowadays, a lot of people, they can be a criminal through YouTubes. They can able to make a bomb. They can able to have a perfect murder through reading a books and everything. But for your informations, how much is the criminal can able to think, be the doctors or the forensic or the police, they can able to think one step higher, because not only the test we will be taking into considerations during the court rulings, we will be taking a few other possibilities, meaning that prima facie means that is there any thing that to tell that particular suspect is in that particular area or not, first things, and then the durations, and then from the point of the police, I can't able to tell everything because it's a medical legals wise. We have our ways to a certain ways to get the suspects to, because usually when the suspects or whoever doing the murder or anything, there must be something the particular person had left behind. Because during that particular time, how good you are also, there are possibilities for you to do a mistake, one mistake, a small mistake, which the police can able to get through it within the time.
And so exactly. It's just about learning and getting new knowledge and educating people. That's why, much like how in the COVID vaccine, for example, we need to constantly evolve and do things that are, because we know that virus mutates, we have to manufacture different types of vaccines in order to counter that. I would say it's very similar to how it can be applied to forensic. It's just getting more researchers to start thinking about ways that they can prevent, so they can counter them, so they can counter the counters.
Yes.
Yeah, it's very interesting how
true.
the relationship between all the different knowledges.
Because basically we are evolving. So every day we are trying to learn new things. So at times, because of that, we also going through with the webinars, we are attending seminars, we are trying to incorporate with other countries, forensics, like we are having international webinars and international forensic conferences, so where we can able to have a brainstorm of ideas, because we can get a lot of enhanced technologies, because nowadays technologies it evolved like humans. So at times there is a part of tests and trials. Everything is tests and trials.
So we have another question, which is about your experience and how, so generally your experience and your path to become who you are today. So it's about, can a student taking biomedical science go into the field of forensics?
Yeah, sure. Why not? Because usually for biomedical science, as long as they are having their chemistry and bio, they are eligible to do the forensics. Because usually what I do was, that's the thing I have earlier I have talked about it. I like to expand, means that I won't be in one particular. I mean, a doctor means I will be not only a doctor. So now when I'm in a forensic, I can able to think like a police, I can think like a fireman, I can think like a biochemist, I can think like electricians, because when in using biology and chemistry, there is the two base things that you can able to apply and you can get into the forensics, and that particular things you can able to enhance to be in chemistry or biochemistry or in toxicology, because in Jabatan Kimia, where a lot of the forensics are working, they are using toxicology mainly. So to ascertain what are the chemicals they have used, what are the poisons that they have used. Most of the times, things we will be sending to Jabatan Kimia. So biomedical students with the biology and chemistry, we are, I think they are having the 100% eligibility to go and do your forensics. As well as you have a bachelor, you can do your master. Or even you have a basic biology and chemistry, you can go for a degree first. Because as far as I'm concerned, in USM, the forensic science is the pioneers, first in Malaysia, first university to have forensic science. And so far, I think the outcome is very good. Only thing is those who are in art streams, it is a bit difficult for you to go into, it's totally out of your context.
Yeah, so I have also a question that is related to what was asked previously. So many bioscience graduates actually apply for graduate entry in medicine after they are done with their bachelor, but you in fact has completed your MBBS, then go into the research field of MSc forensics, right?
Yeah.
So how do you think your MBBS has helped you through the masters, and does the knowledge that you get from the MBBS be a very crucial part on how your success in the MSc?
Actually, it will be a very, when I did my MBBS, it is a platform for me to master my science, my biology, my chemistry as well. So when I went into the Master of Forensic, because I had a background of forensic during my medical time, because in our medical, we had forensic and we are more likely to involve with pathology, means that to do things which already date and everything. So I correlate that particular things with my master in forensic. So that's the thing, we can able to enhance. But MBBS with the forensic, it is a plus point for me, because now I can do a lecturing in forensic, I can do a lecturing in MBBS medical, I can do a lecturing in anatomy. So my way of diversified. I can able to do in so many ways. I cannot only to be in one particular subject only. I can able to teach anything also.
And that is a great advice for like anyone who is trying to broaden their job scope, right? Because getting multiple degrees, although it's difficult, it really helps in terms of your employability and how like employers look at you, because you don't do two different degrees just because you want, like just because you have to. You do it because you're interested in those two fields, and it really shows your interest in a certain certain part of the science and the discipline behind it.
Yes, and I can able to correlate that particular two different things into one. I can still use the thing.
So another question we have is, someone is very interested in the genetic aspect of forensics. So he asked, what is the role of genomic sequencing, the gel electrophoresis and PCR tests in forensic research and investigation?
Basically, this is also not new in forensic, because usually this genetic sequencing we will be doing, concurrently for most of the crime scenes. Because at times, if in case there is a decomposed body, which is we can't able to ascertain what is their identity, so we will be taking their DNAs, and if in case the IO, the investigating officer, investigating that particular case, they will be trying to get the person's who had lodged a complaint of missing persons. So basically, those missing persons, they can come and they can able to identify the decomposed body is good enough. But at times, to have a more confirmatory test, we will be taking the blood from that particular neck skin, so-called, and we'll be trying to do a gene sequencing, DNAs and everything with the decomposed body, and to make sure that the things match, to make sure that they are the one who is their family. So this is a very important things. And also for the fingerprintings as well.
Okay. And he also asked about the involvement of bioinformatics.
Pardon? Bioinformatics.
Yeah, bioinformatics.
So usually for bioinformatics is regarding for the markers and also sequencings and also some fingerprints as well as a bioinformatics. Sometimes due to this forensic wise, we have evolved in such a way we can able to take fingerprints from the drowned patient who was decomposed beyond recognitions. We have ways to get the fingerprints for bioinformatics purpose. We have done it.
And also, I have a question about, you talked, due to COVID, you weren't able to conduct your research in a morgue, right? As you said.
Yes.
Do you see a benefit of conducting this type of research in a lab rather than traditionally in a morgue, like in terms of the reproducibility of the data or controlling the experimental factors?
Actually, there is two things. One will be an advantage, one is a disadvantage. As what I have told, the advantage is I have recreated the autopsy outside of morgue. That will be a new way. I mean, that will be challenges for me. And the second thing is I can't able to get the 100% data where we can able to apply it in the morgue itself, because when there is a chances when the morgue when in the post-mortem table, when the body was already been placed, there are chances of the body to compress, means the weight can compress the blood or anything, which is also parameters that we need to take into considerations. How long the body compressed the blood, which I unable to reproduce in this research. So that will be one of my challenges. I think that one answer your question.
Yeah, it does. Thank you. So I have just a final question to keep it like very lighthearted. Like, what is your favorite aspect of working as a scientist? Because many scientists I've talked to and researchers, they say the ability to visit other countries for conferences and just the ability to travel is their favorite part of being a scientist. Like, what would you say is yours?
Basically, availability. You can able to travel, that will be a plus point. But when I can able to meet other forensic scientists from other countries, we have maybe a similarities in what we are doing. We can able to share the knowledge, and at the same time we can able to exchange our knowledge, because at times due to the availability of equipments or availability of technologies in their countries, which is not in ours, we can get some ideas where we can able to incorporate, or sometimes if it's a high profile case, we can able to ask, like in one of the cases, I mean, some of the cases in Malaysia also, we had chances to ask for an expertise from outside to come for the court trials. So this is good things for me.
Okay, unfortunately, this will be the end of the session. I just want to thank you very much, Dr. Prakash, for taking your time and to come here to MBIOS and just talk about your experiences. It has been incredibly interesting and inspiring to hear from you.
Thank you very much, Sheng.
Yeah, and I hope that you will be successful in your future endeavors and everything will be well for you.
Yeah, I also wish the same to you. Good luck for
you.
your exams and your future.
Yeah, thank you. So I also want to thank all the audiences that has participated in this talk. Thank you for all your questions. It has been incredibly helpful and great to know what you guys are thinking and what you guys want to ask the speaker. And for those who joined late or missed our science chat, you can watch the edited videos on our MBIOS YouTube page after this. So, and lastly, I just like to ask, I will be pasting a link on the Zoom chat, which will bring you to the feedback form. It will be incredibly helpful if some of you or most of you could give us some feedback on this talk so that we can improve in the future. So that is it for me. See you all on January 22nd for our second talk of the year. Thank you very much.
Thank you.